Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let me make it public. Let me make it public. Hope you're doing well, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. Let me make it public. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. Let me make it public. Let me make it public. Now it is public. Yes. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. And some people call me Little Boy. Going all the way to the 767. Whitey Kubuli, tall is her body, the Commonwealth of Dominica. Dominica made me, Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. Let me try to get this on Instagram. Just hang it with me for a moment, folks. I'm trying to stream it to go live on Instagram. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see it. We're having a little Instagram technical difficulties here. Something went wrong. Let's try it again. Let's try to explode Instagram. Let's try it again. Explore. Create, go live, audience, make it public, and go, we call it Tuesdays with Terrence. Let's try it, Tuesdays with Terrence. Let's try it now, and let's go public, and hopefully we can stream it live now. Yes. Hopefully we can stream it live. So I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Good evening, Elizabeth Bardui, my cousin in Brooklyn, New York. And Miss Beach Goodwill, good evening. How are you doing all the way in Petersburg, Virginia? We have a great show in store for you tonight. We have the great Dr. Dahmer tonight. We'll get him in a second. But in a minute, are you guys doing good? Did you have a good Easter? Did everybody have a good Easter? At church, we had a great Easter. We had communion, great celebration. I hope if you were in the Caribbean, you had Easter Monday, you went to the beach, you had a beach splash, you had fun, you did all of that stuff. So for those of you who are tuning in, if you say hello, I can give you a shout out. And for those of you who don't say hello, you just have to tune into the show. I hope you're doing well tonight. I'm doing fantabulous. I'm excited about our show. And while people are starting to come in, I might do a little music. Let's play a little music. Good times with some good friends and some good memories. Let's try a little of that.
We're gonna have some good times with good friends.
Yes.
Making good memories.
Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence.
A little bit of sunshine.
Good vibes. That's all I need.
And we ain't gonna worry, ain't in a hurry. Everything is going our way. We're gonna have some good times with good friends, making good memories. Everybody's moving to the song
on the radio. Yes. Welcome.
A little Stevie Wonder never hurt nobody's soul. Something about lawn chairs out in the warm air feels like a sacred place.
Yes, sacred place.
We all get together every day is a holiday.
We're gonna have some good times with good friends, making good memories.
It'll be the sunshine and good vibes.
And that's the thing. Good times with good friends. It's so funny. I feel like I've known my guests a lifetime, because we have similarities because of our background, our faith, and people that we know. But I personally don't know him. And one day, and I'm actually just one state down from him, but one day I'm going to drive up to where he is and take him to lunch, and we're going to talk. But folks, tonight, just before we start, for those of you who had a great resurrection weekend, I hope you remember that he's been alive and he is alive. So tonight we're going to have a great show. So welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence, and some people call me Mr. Bardui. Going all the way back to the 767 Whitey Kubuli, the Commonwealth of Dominica. Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. If you're from Point Michelle, aka La Pointe, you don't call me little boy, you call me Luca boy. That's for people like my cousin who's watching right now in Brooklyn, New York. You know, her name is Elizabeth, but we call her Beulah. That's a personal name that we call her back in the day, but she's Elizabeth. And you know, I had some bad news. I heard a young man passed in Dominica. I knew personally. He actually shot our wedding pictures and stuff. His company did. And we saw him last in our suite in December, Mr. Dupuy, you know, condolences to your family, you know, and praying that family goes through their mourning, you know, man, we'll see you in the morning. We'll see you in the morning. So for all of those who are tuning in, welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. Again, excuse me, I'm so excited about my show tonight because I have a very special guest. But just before we introduce him, we got to play our theme song, right? We got to play our theme song. You don't have to be a star to be on my show. You don't have to have a million to be on my show. But as usual, I always bring the superstars. Come, family, tell somebody Dr. Anton Dormer's on tonight. Woo!
Family, come as you are with just your heart, and I'll help you win. Are you rejected or hurt? To me, your worth much more than you put in.
I don't need no superstars, but I got one tonight.
No, I don't need no superstar, 'cause I'll accept you as you are. You won't be denied, 'cause I'm satisfied with the help that I can provide. You don't have to be rich, family, to be on my show. You don't have to have a million, family, to be on my show.
Boom. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. I'm so excited tonight. You know, Dr. Anton Dormer has been on my show before, you know, and I'm so excited that he's coming back. For those of you who went on my page, you'll see, and scrolling at the bottom, he has a book. And you can actually, if you get the book on Kindle, you get it for free. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, but just before I bring him on, you know, let me cue up a song, you know, one of his favorite groups. He went to college with them. Some of you know them. They're the Grammy Award-winning group, Take Six, you know. He went to elementary school, high school, and college with some of these guys. So, Dr. Dormer, let me unmute him as I bring him on a little bit. Hold on a minute. Let me fix this. Let's unmute him, and let's give him a solo screen as I bring him on. There he goes. Exit solo screen. Hey, Doc.
There is a quiet place.
Take your time, Doc. 1 second.
Far from the racket.
Take six.
God can soothe my trouble, my sheltered by tree and flower there in my quiet hour within. My hands are
Yes. Hey, Doc. Good evening. How you doing, man? Those are your boys.
Yes, they are doing quite well. Thank you.
Man, good to see you. Good to see you, man. Good to have you back on
It is
Tuesdays
my
with
pleasure.
Terrence. I am so excited to see you on Tuesdays with Terrence again, man. And for those who are watching, welcome. My special guest is Dr. Anton Dahmer. He's a medical doctor and he's also a scientist. If you want, we want to get there. But just before we do that, though, I was just playing a little take six to introduce you. I understand you went to middle school, high school, and college with some of those guys. Hey, Doc, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Where were you born? I know you were born on an island. You're not from the Caribbean, but you were born on some island. And then tell us a little bit about you, where you went to school, elementary, high school, college. Tell them a little bit about your medical background and your research background. Just give you a couple of minutes. Go ahead, sir.
All right, it is my distinct pleasure, and Harvard is definitely correct. I was born on the beautiful, wonderful island of Long Island. More
Long
specifically,
Island, New York.
yes, Long Island, New York, in the city of Brooklyn. Both of my parents are from the Caribbean. My mother is from Guadeloupe, French West Indies, and my father is from Jamaica. And so my early years was in New York, but
Yaman,
then,
Jamaica.
yes, yes. So some people call that, almost another part of Jamaica.
Yes.
And so we were able to move from New York City to Huntsville, Alabama. And that's where my parents were able to teach at Oakwood for many decades. So I grew up in Huntsville. I loved the city and was able to actually go to school with some of the individuals who are in Tech 6. Mark Hibble and Mervyn Warren from early showed their talents. They were about 2 years ahead of me. So I went to school with them in elementary school, high school, and in college. David Thomas, about 2 years behind me. He was excellent, brilliant. I think David Thomas is a genius. Went to Oakwood Adventist Academy with me. And so having that musical environment and enriched environment was a wonderful and allowed me to develop to the person I am today. I have my medical doctorate. I have also a master's in biotechnology. For the past few years, I've run my own company called PetVax, which is a biotechnology company that's focused on the development of drug delivery, targeting immunotherapies. And most recently, I started a company called BioLabShare. We have our space in Huntsville, Alabama. We're going to put a bioincubator there and create a co-living, co-working community. And so the Lord has really blessed me to want to grow up in an enriching environment in Huntsville, have wonderful parents who are both doctors, but also to have met my wife, Yannette, who is the love of my life, have wonderful children, and now as I get older, be able to share and give back to my community in the formulation, in essence, of a BioLabShare. So God has been good.
That is awesome, man. Your background is extensive. You're not just a medical doctor. You also technically, I call you a scientist. Would you say that?
Yes, have a few patents and I have written several publications. Yes.
Okay, and we'll talk about the latest one in a little bit. But Doc, the last time we had you on the show, yeah, as you know, April. This is Tuesdays with Terrence is a financial services show. April is Financial Literacy Month, and I know you have a passion that I have as well, empowering people to do the right things and good things, especially people of color.
Yes.
And sometimes, I know you had me read a scripture before we came on tonight. And it's so funny. And some of you are like, what? You were reading the scripture? Of course I read the scripture. What's wrong with y'all? You think I'm crazy? But you know what, Doc, we were talking here in the book of Numbers, chapter 13. For those of people who don't know that story, and this is not a Bible study tonight, okay? And it's not prayer meeting. We want to make it clear. However, we want to set the background for our conversation tonight.
Yes.
So Numbers chapter 13, right? Starting at verse 30. Doc, what is this story about a little bit before we get into our conversation tonight about, and we'll talk a little bit about STEM as well, because I have an engineer coming on later this month, one of my clients. She's probably watching, I don't know, but we'll see about that. But tell me, in Numbers chapter 30, um, chapter 13, verse 30. Can you set the background on that story just before we start talking?
Definitely. This is or was a very tremendous time for the children of Israel. They have been rescued um, from Egypt, the miraculous nature of the parting of the Red Seas. They have gone through and they have seen the hand of God come through for them. And so they were able to travel towards the promised land. And they were almost there. Some people say it took them less than 6 months to get to where they needed to go, where God has promised Abraham and Jacob and Isaac. And so while they were there, Moses sent out 12 spies. One of them was Jacob and also Joshua. And they surveyed the land, and it came back with stories that, wow, this land is flowing with milk and honey, and the grapes is as big as oranges. And they told about all the wonderful things in the land. But then the 10 soured the entire experience and said there are also giants in the land.
Oh,
And
come on.
Caleb said, we can do this. We can take this land. God has promised it to us. And in essence, if God promised it, I'm going to hold on to that promise and go ahead and take that land. But the other 10 discouraged the community and said, no, we can't do it. Why, Moses, did you bring us here to die by the hands of the Canaanites? We could have died by the hands of the Egyptians. And so instead of holding on and obtaining those promises, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years.
Wow. I'm glad you give this background, Doc, because in our lives, we have doubters as entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
I mean, Felicia Starr's watching, Peach Goodwill's watching. I know for a fact, they have jobs, but they're also entrepreneurs as well. And there's always these naysayers, and people who, and they're energy suckers, I call them. They suck out your energy, and they're always doubters. And something that could have took them a few days or maybe a month took them years to accomplish. And Doc, how can you parlay this into our conversation tonight? Because right now you have patterns, you have bioshare labs, you're creating all these important um, scientific information that we need, and yet you have naysayers. So how do you parlay that into what we're talking about tonight in terms of you being a medical doctor, an entrepreneur, and a scientist, and then having people telling you it can't be done, especially people who look like me and you?
And that's an excellent question. And I'm going to answer it this way, going back to that particular story. Why did Caleb believe? Why did Joshua believe? Because God has brought them through already. And if
Exactly.
God has brought them through already, that means that whatever is in my path, He will allow me to cross over into my promised land. And so, likewise, in my life, when I reflect, I have seen how God has directed, I have seen how God has gotten me over my challenge. And so, when I make my goals and vision, I know that God will get me through. And so, the point here, this is from an individual point of view that I'm talking about, but I'm talking about collectively.
Yes,
If
please.
we can see how far we have gone, we will know that we could go even farther because we have God on our side, we have our community on our side, and we have the resilience to make and achieve the goals that we have set out for ourselves. No one can stop us but us.
But you know what, Doc? You're correct, and I believe you. No one can stop it but us. But sometimes, we listen to the noise in the background. I know there's noise that you hear when it comes to your business. There's noise that you hear even from family and friends sometimes, people that you grew up with, you went to school with. Well, you can't do this and you can't do that. And sometimes, even for Black History Month, I saw you made some posts where, collectively, everybody is trying to, you know, you know, there was a song. I don't know if that's an appropriate analogy. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. In other words, people don't want to put the work in for what the end result is. And you have done some of that. So tell us a little bit about your lab, BioShare, and what you're doing there. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Doc?
Yes, BioShare is about a $30 million project. It is going to be part of my family estate. So we are designated about 10 acres out of that particular estate. And we have started the process of building a co-living, co-working community. So it will have residences for the scientists and other workers that will be associated with the bio incubator. We are going to put a health and wellness center on that particular location, so that individuals, after a long day in the lab, if they want to go to the gym, shoot a ball, if they want to, get a workout, they could do so. It will also consist of a K-20 STEM center, so that we could outreach to the community, so that we could work to diversify biotechnology, life sciences, and health technology. The lab is a 15,000 square foot cutting edge lab that we are building. It will house approximately 10 different companies. We have about 10 offices that we also will lease out. There's a cafe within that particular lab. And so we are envisioning, and we have started the process already, a community in where it will allow for scientists to be innovative, but also to be a lighthouse. As we reach out and do student internship, I was able to talk to Dr. Pollard, and I'm very excited that I will be able to share some of these opportunities with the students at Boca University. We also did the same thing with University of Alabama in Huntsville, so that they can come to learn and interact with venture capitalists, angel investors, and other entrepreneurs, so that they can go out and do the same. So we want to be a spark that start a fire that can warm our community to bring positive results as it relates to health care solutions.
It's so funny, Doc. You're a medical doctor, you're a scientist, and you're talking about, healthcare and stuff, that can benefit the community. And sometimes I feel like people's priorities are not where it's supposed to be. Sometimes, with venture capitalists, for example, I'm just thinking, I'm not talking about the average person, and I think the average person should do it, but I'm thinking about movie stars, singers, rappers, athletes, those of color. If you look at the Jewish community, they plug into their stuff. And I admire them for that. They have schools, universities, they got everything. I was in New York last year for Labor Day, and I was up in what's that part of New York? It'll come to me in a minute. Spring Valley. And man, there was so many, like the Hasidic Jews. I saw the schools, the temples, and and I think we can do the same thing. But sometimes, Doc, because you're trying to create all of this that's going to benefit not just us, but everyone, sometimes you still have haters. And I think sometimes I get frustrated with the people with means who don't do it. But the average person can participate as well. Is that true?
I agree 100%. It's come down to mindset. And that's the basic focus of the book that I've written. And I'm going to be controversial here. The primary challenge with Black Americans right now is not racism.
What is it?
Pause to bring that in. It's how we think is our mindset. And once we change our mindsets, we will find that there's more opportunities. But if I'm always saying that there's a line out in the marketplace, I would never go out in the marketplace. And the Bible talks about that in Proverbs. The individual who can will not, because they have an imaginary enemy that's out there. A lot of times, if we just go out and strive, we'll find that we can make it. And it begins with ourselves. This is what's called self-love. One of the things that have really got me to this particular point, I remember a long time ago, and I, as a child, I used to use very sparingly talking about my skin color. I use it as a negative term. And 50 years later, kids are still doing the same thing. There's something wrong with us, not with them. My skin color is beautiful.
Of course it
I've
is.
heard grown women who have given birth wishing that their child was light skinned. There's something wrong with that. Whatever skin color that God has given to you is beautiful. And my skin color is my advantage, because a lot of times they don't expect that a person can be articulate. So I could sneak in
Come on, tell us.
for my advantage. And before they recognize where I am, I have already achieved that goal. So we need to use our dark black skin to our advantage and be proud of it. And no child that is of the African diaspora should talk negatively about their skin color. That's called self-love. And we need to start from us, because if we can't love ourselves, no one else can love us. If we don't respect ourselves, no one else can respect us. And those are the type of changes that I'm talking about. And we don't need a government policy. We don't need someone of the other skin persuasion to say, please, we love you now, for us to love us. It has to come from us first. And then we will find that the world will be opened up to us.
But I agree with you. I will tell you this. I love everyone. Okay, I love everybody, but God made me this way. I'm a person of color. In America, it's called African American. I prefer the term Black or Caribbean because I'm from the Caribbean. But yeah, right. But you know what? I can tell you what you said is true. I remember when we were younger. I'm 60 this year. And I remember when we were in high school and middle school up in Boston, it's like, like if someone was a darker skin color, like people would people would be a little more ashamed. And like now I consider myself, I'm not like a Pan-Africanist, but I believe in those values. I mean, I'm not a Marcus Garvey. I'm not a Dr. Umar Johnson, but what I'm saying here is that I believe I make no apologies for what I am. It's so funny. I was talking to a client today, and I was telling him, and the person was African-American descent, and I was saying, man, the problem is, we make excuses for the things that we do. Forget about the past. Let's start. When I say forget the past, I don't mean forget history. That's not what I mean. I mean, let's grab the bull by the horn and let's move forward from today. Let's embrace our minds, whether our Afrocentricness, our brilliance, whatever it may be, and make a change. And we can make a change in our communities, whether it's investing in our communities, whether it's creating plans, whether it's as a financial professional myself. I have clients who are Asian, Caucasian, African American, East Indian. I have all kinds of clients, and I don't care, because as long as your money's green, I can help you. But the point I'm trying to make, and that's what we have to stop. Like right now, I'll be honest though, sometimes people who look like me, I have to tell them, hey, snap out of it, snap out of it. Let's start using some of the concepts that people who don't look like us have used. And I teach infinite banking concepts. I'm creating one for a guy today, and it's going to be brilliant. And he's like, man, I said, forget about what you didn't know back then. Let's start now. And Doc, this is a great segue, because you wrote a book, and the book is free. And it's actually scrolling down. I just pulled it up for a second here. The book is called On Becoming a Black Joshua by Anton Dahmer. And can you talk a little bit about that book? And I know it's free on Kindle, but people, if they want to download that stuff, on my Facebook page, I put about tonight's show on there. You can go there and you get the book for free. Doc, I don't understand you. This is a compliment, but I don't understand you. You wrote a book and you got it out there for free. Can you tell us why your book is out there for free? And you are a medical doctor, a scientist. I mean, you have BioShare Labs. I mean, you're creating this multi-million-dollar company. But why is it free?
Because I want everyone to get it. I want everyone to be transformed. I want everyone to recognize that they are their own limitation. Some of the things you talk about within our community in terms of entrepreneurship, I cannot continue to blame individuals for 99% of my problems when I give them 99% of my money.
Come on, say that again, Doc, please.
Yes, I cannot continue to blame people for 99% of my problems when I give them 99% of my money. And that is empowering if you think that way, because now I'm bringing my resources into my community and making sure that it stays there to build myself up. And I want us to go beyond. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. No, we are into Black by Black business, which is nice. But I have not heard a Chinese say Chinese by Chinese. I have not heard a Jew say Jew by Jews. What they want is everybody. Where do we go to get our manufacturing good? We go to China.
That's right.
The Chinese don't
Black
care
hair.
what you look like.
Hair.
All they want is green to build up their community. And so we need to set up businesses, not just barbershops and hairdressing businesses, but businesses that attract their money into our community. And I am not going to be apologetic by this. By and large, most of my clients are going to be non-Black, period.
Right.
I'll pause there for you to think about it.
Yeah,
and that is how we build our community. And so the purpose of this book is to make sure that there's a change. I cannot continue to wait for the government to have policy. Their policy has been disastrous. Can you say welfare, which is anti-family? So I don't want anything more to do with policy that does not work. I'm not waiting for them anymore. The power for me to lift myself is within me and my mindset.
Well, it's so funny you said that, Doc. And I want to make it clear, folks. He's not saying we should not have barbershops, and he's not saying we should not have hairdressing salons. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that we can have those, but we can't just have, that's all we have. We need scientists like him. We need medical doctors. We need our schools. We need our research labs. We need financial professionals like Venus, the ABR Queen Stevens, Felicia, Lisa Starr, Peach Goodwill. I mean, we need people. And like you said, most of the clients are not going to look like us, because sometimes, this is what I heard, in the Jewish community or the Hispanic community or the Asian community, a dollar circulates like 5 to 6 times before it gets out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, Doc, if you do what you're doing right now with your lab, if somebody else who didn't look like you is doing the same thing, someone who looked like me and you may want to invest in that lab, but not yours, because they're judging you by the color of your skin. I'll give you a quick story. I used to work for this company out of Chicago called Bankers Life. And there was a young man out of California. He came through North Carolina via Vegas. And I was trying to teach him the ropes. That's a long time ago. That was about 2013, about, 11 years ago. And I was trying to teach him the ropes because I had a lot of experience in my field. But this young man, I kept going to people who didn't look like me. And they would say, go to H Terrence Bardui. H knows his stuff. Because those same people will come to me, but he wouldn't come to me. And after 90 days, I came to work one day. I didn't see his desk was cleaned out. And I remember people were giving him erroneous information. I was trying to teach him the way. But my skin color, I guess, and he looked like me now, but my skin color, I wasn't smart enough to teach him the way. So I said, bro, I missed you. What happened? He said, he didn't make his probationary period. I said, man, I was trying to teach you. He says, I know, I was too embarrassed to tell you. That's why I didn't tell you when they let me go. And those are the kind of things that ticks me off, because in our communities we need to learn. Let me tell you something. You're correct. The Asians don't say buy Asians. The Jews don't say buy Jews. They want everybody to get their stuff, and people do.
Mhm.
People do. And you know what? That's what we needed to do. But we have to start somewhere and circulate it within our communities. So the name of the book, Doc, is called On Becoming a Black Joshua. Why is it that we need more Black Joshua, sir?
Yes, because the way that we've been going has not gone well. We are in the wilderness. Okay, so many things that has really hold us down. For example, the lack of a family structure. 80% of all Black children is born out of wedlock. And not having a father leads to all types of pathologies. It leads to increased drug use and jail. Our people being in jail, especially Black men, it leads to the continuation of this particular structure that does not help us. And we need to just change ourselves. We've been waiting for 60 years. We did well with the Voting Rights Act. We did well with the Civil Rights Act of the 1960s. Affirmative action that started out helped many Blacks move into the middle class, but we cannot continue to just have those things. We need to now take the initiative. For example, our children. Our children, we want to say that, our Black boys in particular do not behave any worse than anyone else. Yes, they do. And just take hold of it. You cannot change a problem without admitting the problem, okay? And get the type of mentorship that's needed within our community. So the reason why this particular book is needed, because it focus on us recognizing that we are our limitation in many different cases. And somebody may say, you have not had a racist experience. Yes, I have. I had a racist experience in such a way that a cop would have murdered me if I didn't act, and with my child in the car. And I know what racism is, but I also know what being how as I have tried to move forward, how Black individuals have tried to get in my way of moving forward, when what I'm doing is trying to help the community. There's a particular cartoon, a very famous cartoon that's drawn by a Black individual. It is a bunch of crabs in a barrel, and under the caption it says, who created the barrel? Now, we are smarter than crabs. Yes.
Come on, preach.
Yes, a barrel was created, but you're going to continue to stay in that barrel, wishing that barrel would go away, wishing for this fantasy post-racial world where everyone sits around and say, "Kumbaya, you are now equal to me in all way, form, and fashion." That is the fantasy that we need to get over and start taking hold of the opportunities that our ancestors have died for. They have died for us to get educated, and yet our children are the most disrespectful of any ethnic group. We should have been, after 450 years of slavery, after 100 years of segregation, the most educated group in this country, because we have been denied, but instead hold on to the opportunities. We disrespect our ancestors who have fought for those opportunities by not taking hold of it. And then we blame everyone else to say, this is the reason why we don't have a Facebook type of experience. We don't have a Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, or we don't have a Bill Gates. But the point is, did your child sit down in class so that he can become that type of entrepreneur to make a significant difference that not only touch his community, but the world? So until we have that mindset to recognize that we are our own limitation, no one can stop us by us, we will always be begging somebody else to do for us when we can do for ourselves. selves, and I will put this out there, and this is going to be controversial, as long as you are waiting for somebody to lift you up, when you can lift you out yourself up, you're still a slave.
You know, it's so funny you just said this because I'm here smiling because I have one of my clients who's an engineer from Berea, Boston. She's no longer there. She's in Jersey now. She'll be coming on later this month as my special guest. We're going to talk about STEM, especially women of color. But Doc, you just talked about are the kids in school studying to be because remember, Bill Gates never graduated from Harvard. Neither did Mark Zuckerberg. Now they are multi-billionaires, some of the richest men in the world, right? My point is, but they had the foundation. Some people are going to say, well, we don't have the foundation. Well, we went to public schools. I know a lot of kids who went to public schools. Um, some of them, a ton of them went to Oakwood too and became doctors like you as well. So my my challenge here is that when do you think children should start getting into STEM, especially children of color, into STEM? You know, science, technology, you know, engineering, and medical.
That is powerful. Let me put it this way,
All right.
and I'll give this as an anecdotal. With my particular children, I had a mission for them. I said to myself, I'm gonna have my children read by the age of 3. I'm gonna pause as you think about that. So I know in school that reading is very important, and so I took upon myself to ensure that my child could read before they went to school. All Black parents with their mother, father, husband, wife should work together to have that done. It should be the community goal of 45 billion people. And just doing that, even before we start talking about STEM, it will move mountains because my children, by the time they were middle school, were reading at the college level. And I could see my input at that particular tender age when I came home, especially with my youngest one. I had my cue cards out. Day one, just taken from the hospital, and I was saying A, card B. Of course, that child didn't. My littlest one did it. Not while I was still there, but I did that every day. I had something called nighttime read time, nighttime.
Right.
So no matter how tired I am, sometimes I do 4 hours a night. I would take my child home. Sometimes he would fall asleep, and I'll read 6 months, 1 year. And by the time my littlest one, in particular, started actually memorizing all the books, so I start the first sentence, and he would finish it. And by the time he was 3, when I started to read, what happened is he just one day just started to read. He just went off and he turned the pages himself. That was my greatest joy, to have my children read, not because they're waiting for a teacher, because his parent taught them to read. That's the first step. And I took that upon myself as a man. My wife did other things, and I couldn't do it with her, but that was my goal. So it's important that Black men be involved in the training of their children. Very important. And when we work together, there's a yin and yang. Okay, male, female. God made us slightly different so that when we come together, we are one. And once we become one, we will recognize that worlds will part. We will be able to flatten mountains, raise valleys, cross rivers, skim and sail on an ocean that's turbulent and get to the other side. So even before STEM, we need to get them to be able to read. There's a wonderful video that comes on Instagram that I look at this child. He's a prodigy, doing massive, addition, mathematics, division, etc. And it's incredible. But I believe that all our children can add, subtract, multiply, and divide by the age of 6. But it takes parents that says that this is something that's important, and there's a methodology of how to go about doing that. So from the earliest age, expose your children to what are the what are the best ways within our society. And it is a concerted effort of male, female, husband, wife, together, working together. The number one problem, and I'm going to kind of change that question. You know, you're talking about STEM. The number one problem in the Black community is the lack of fathers in the home. You know,
Preach, man.
and until that change, our educational system will never, ever be better. Never, ever. We can try, we could fire the superintendent, we could fire the principal, you could fire the teacher, you could change the curriculum, but until there's a man in the house that's responsible to recognize that he is the provider, that he is the protector, he is the moral leader of his family, to give his wife the safe space to be the mother, which is her role, we will never do any better than what we're doing now, period. And that doesn't take a government policy. It takes a mindset, a change within our community to recognize that we, again, the common theme of what I've been saying, that we are our own limitation. And we need to come together in a traditional family. One husband married to one, let me be a little bit more.
Biblically.
One husband, XY, married to one female, XX, and working together. And once we see that, we will see many of the pathologies that we find within the community disappear. Let me give you the statistics behind that. The most successful group, minority group in America are those are the native African Americans, not African American, Africans that come over here, and also Indian Americans. When you look at them, what they have, they're married. 80% plus on both ends. Black Africans come to this country who are on the top, in the top 10 of in terms of income, they are married. Indian Americans, married. Jewish Americans, married. And they are very successful. So there's a correlation between success of your children and being able to have a stable, strong family structure where XX works with XY within a marital community. And when we had 80% of our children being born out of wedlock. And I'm going to keep on going. And that is being fed. Yes, we could talk about welfare. It was not designed well. But we perpetuate the prostitution of our children through hip hop and the pimping of our boys. Well, let me put it this way. We socialize our boys to be pimps and our girls to be whores through hip hop. Listening to the music is so misogynistic. It's so disgusting. You know, it sickens me when I can see a 10-year-old girl talking about dancing, about being beat up. Dancing around a beat that says that she is nothing. And until we change our socialization of our children, we'll continue to have a problem. And it doesn't have anything to do with white people. It has to do with Black people not putting the anchor weight around our own neck and pushing ourselves off, watching us sink. We are our own limitation.
Hey, Doc, you're making some valid points, but some people might say, and I want to make it very clear, some people, I know some people who went to your alma mater who are medical doctors who are single parents, they came from a single parent home. And some people may say, well, you're highly educated. You have a medical degree. You have a, master's degree in this. You have a this and that. You have your wife has a PhD. So a lot of people might say, you're talking about STEM, Doc, because you're highly educated. But you're saying when your kids were small, even before they were babies, could even read, you were showing them A and B and reading. And I've heard some people sing to their babies in their stomach or talk to them in the stomach. So you're saying it goes way back. And I want to make it clear, we're not disparaging single parents here. We're not doing that at all. You're just saying that the nuclear family, is so critical for STEM, because as a medical doctor, people are going to say, well, you're a medical doctor, so you are saying, well, your kids, you had the resources or whatever for them to do this and that. But you're saying, read with your children, because a lot of kids back in, even think about during the civil rights and pre-civil rights movement, Jim Crow. A lot of African Americans in America, almost everybody, all their parents they were maybe sharecroppers or barbers or janitors. They were sending their kids to school, and those kids were very successful. I mean, some of them, their parents may have been just a preacher. Nothing's wrong with that, or a secretary, or whatever. But they were doing that. But now, Doc, it seems like we're glorifying, like you said, and I don't want to get into genres of music, what rap is. I listen to some of the songs out there, not to call any artists out, but some of the lyrics of some of the things is really crap. I agree with you. But what you're saying is, for STEM, it has to start early. And we have to put the kids in the right programs so that, and don't let they marginalize your children or your child when they're younger. You have to have an active part, whether you are a mother and a father, husband and wife, or a father only or a mother only. You have to do. Is that what you're saying, Doc? To a certain degree?
Yes, definitely. A lot of times right now, the way our society is going, we want to put everything onto the educational system. If you are letting the educational system be the progenitor of knowledge only, you lost out. Because the most successful ethnic groups, they're not doing the same thing. Jews make sure they get their children tutored. Asian make sure they get their student tutored. So if you're only dependent on the educational system to train your child, you are done. You're finished. One of the ridiculousness, I won't say it. I'm going to step on a line.
Say it, Doc. This is Tuesdays with Terrence. Unapologetically say it.
That pervades the educational system. They have something to say, if your child don't like the teacher, they can't learn. To me, if a child can only learn if they like the teacher, there's something wrong with that child. I'll pause to let that sink in. You want a child and train them to love learning, no matter what the teacher looks like and what the teacher's doing. The teacher could be a rock, and that child will still learn. That teacher could be a tape recorder, and that children still learn because it was instilled in them by their parents that this is what society says that you need to get. And so, you have children that don't like their teacher and not learning, using the same not likeness, if I could use that, by way they treat their classmates. How are you going to allow a child to determine whether they learn or not based on the same criteria that they have for their own children in their community? It doesn't make any sense. It does not. Or something like this that they talk about, you have to earn the respect of a child so that they can learn from you. Stupidity. Ignorant. How has that worked for the past 60 years? I have to now clown and dance and make that child love me so that they can learn 2 + 2.
Preach,
that
man.
Child should be upset if I'm not teaching them. And that's taught from the home. That is not taught by the teacher. I am not the parent. I am not there to teach civics to a child. I'm here to teach science. I'm here to teach social studies. I'm here to teach whatever discipline it is. And the children needs to come to my classroom prepared to learn. When they do that, we will see a lot more success.
Wow.
I put it this way. Asian children are taught to earn the respect of the teachers, and so they excel. This is my teacher expectation, and so I'm going to go a little harder and work a little bit. In our society, we teach Black children that the teacher has to earn their respect. How does that work? How has that worked? And then we continue to spend billions of dollars into the educational system, changing curriculum, firing teachers, firing principals, firing superintendents, closing down schools, building state-of-the-art schools, and still the same result. Einstein said it best. It is insanity to think that you would have any different results when you're doing the same thing year after year after year after year. Let's do something else. And what is that something else? Let's empower our children that they are their own limitation. Notice I come back to that theme, and that this is what society wants. Go ahead and sit down, be quiet, and learn. And there are many different. You go to Instagram.
Right.
You know, they had this one particular teacher. She called in to a particular parent, and the conversation went like this. You know, your son Bob, whatever you want to call them, Tom, is not behaving in class. You know what the parent said?
What?
That's not my problem. You are the teacher. You aren't supposed to make little Bobby sit down in your class. Wait a minute. And that is a consensus. This is not an anomaly. This is not like an anecdotal experience that teachers have. And that's why a lot of teachers don't want to teach anymore. That's why there's a teacher shortage, because the behaviors of the children, especially in the inner city, is so disgusting. And yet, all the leaders, especially black leaders, I'm calling you out, will say, oh, white people made us this way. No. We made ourselves this way. We need to change ourselves. We cannot continue to wait for other people to think, to in essence, like us, love us. There's no post-racial boat that we're going to get off and everyone going to sing Kumbaya. It's not happening.
You know, Doc, you're right, man. And our time is running from us. It's 8 o'clock. Listen, on Becoming a Black Joshua, if you go on my page, my Facebook page, you'll see the link for the book there. And it's scrolling there as well, you guys. And if you want Dr. Dahmer to come and talk to your organization, your school, your this, your that, your church, you know, get on this calendar. It's scrolling right there at the bottom of the screen. You can see it just like CNN. And, you know, on Becoming a Black Joshua, Doctor, you said that we have to make our own. We have to build our own. We have to empower our own. And we have to start STEM from a very early age. This is a financial services show. And as we close, you know, the show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. As my special guest is Dr. Anton Dahmer, who's a medical doctor and a scientist. He's doing great things down in Huntsville, Alabama. You know, he went to school with the guys from Take Six, from elementary, middle school, high school, college, went to medical school. Now, as a scientist with BioShare Labs, he's doing great things in the community. And he's saying that we have to empower ourselves to change our mindsets. STEM is important, folks. If you have children, I'm not saying they can't play sports, but everybody ain't going to be LeBron James. There's only 500 and something jobs in the NBA. But you can you look at Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, you know, I don't know if they were lousy at sports, but I know they were good at coding, you know. So let's get into STEM. So, Doc, you know, I have a meeting in about 5 minutes, and I want you to stay on the line when we get off. But I just want to give you 2 minutes. Give a charge to the people about investing in our community, investing in your lab, investing in what we can do, and be like a Joshua.
Okay, I'd like to end with this, and this is coming directly from the book. Recognize that you're not fighting for racial equity or equality. You are already equal. Act like it. What you're fighting for is self-validation, that you are going to honor your ancestors that bled and died. You're going to honor the Rosa Parks. You're going to honor the MLKs. You're going to honor those who fought to end slavery and end segregation by taking hold of the opportunities that has been given to you. Free your mind so that your might can follow. Believe in yourself that you are your own limitation, that no one can stop you but you, and you will recognize that you'll be able to lift yourself up. Someone said this: how can I lift myself out and I don't have any bootstraps? Because we all heard the statement, lift yourself by your bootstraps. The bootstraps is your mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, how are you going to lift yourself up? But you have the right mindset that I can. Yes, there are challenges, and walk into the promised land. In the promised land that the Israelites went to, it did not mean that they were not the Jebusites and the Philistines and and the Amalekites.
Amorites. So
But what they recognize that one day, by going to the promised land, they're going to be a David. You got me? One day, when we walk into the new mindset that we're going to be someone that's really going to make a difference. But we need to start as a people to recognize, again, we are our own limitation. And nobody can stop us but us.
His name is Dr. Anton Dahmer. His latest book is free on Kindle. You can go download it on my page on Becoming a Black Joshua, man. We need to empower ourselves. The show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. And some people call me Little Boy. If you're from Point Michelle, you call me Luka Boy. Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. The show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. His name is Dr. Anton Dahmer. Get on his... it's scrolling if you want to find out more. You want to invest into BioShare Labs, you can get more information there. But what he's saying is we have to empower ourselves. And I am glad that he was on tonight to share some words of wisdom and give us, that charge that we can do anything we put our minds to it. Doc, hold on for a moment. As we close, I want each and every one of you, for you guys, to share this with some of your children. Share this, with your husband, your wife, or whatever, and so you can empower them. STEM starts when you're young. You don't have to be a star to be on my show. You don't have to have 1 million to be on my show. To be on my show. Let me turn the volume down. You don't have to have 1 million. Sorry, guys. To be on my show. Sorry, let me turn it down. But what I'm trying to say here is simply this. Simply this, folks. Remember this. Make sure that we empower ourselves financially, psychologically, educationally, and definitely spiritually, because we need to invest in ourselves. Dr. Dahmer, I want to thank you so much for being on our show tonight. God bless you. Just hold on for a moment, please. Woo! Good night, family. God bless you. God bless you. Hasta la vista. Thank you for tuning in. Sabrina in Tortola, God bless you. Good night, everybody. Good night, good night, good night. Are you rejected?